Still in the Northwest province that has come under focus recently because of a number of service delivery protests that we have been seeing coming, especially from the Newzroom local municipality. This, by and large, over water. There are other issues, of course, that are underlying that would need to be addressed. We're joined now by Fanon Moema, Northwest EFF spokesperson, and Winston Rabutabi, Northwest Democratic Alliance member. Good to have you, and thank you very much for coming on. Let's talk about the interventions that we are hearing are happening in this local municipality. Some 3,000 boreholes that have been dug up, some studies on the availability of water underground that is being done, and you talk of the Nilukana rural water supply project that was announced. It will come in phases, but these are issues that are going to be addressing the water crisis. Are these new interventions in response to the latest protest, or are these interventions that have always been in place but not bearing any results? Winston?
Thank you very much, sir. I would like to say to you that this province, for many, many years, has had this problem of water shortage. And what I can tell you is the challenge that this province is facing is corruption. We can come with all interventions. We can do anything that we want to do. But for as long as we don't deal decisively with corruption, then everything will not go as planned.
Tell me what you mean by corruption.
Yes, I will not precisely talk about Ramotsiri. There's a little municipality on your Freiberg Road called Ratu. You know, there were boreholes that were dug there. Some did not have water, and some of the boreholes were paid for, but also did not have enough water, whereas others were paid for, but were never found.
So what is the amount that would have been used there?
Well, I don't have the amounts now, but one thing sure, I know that we have actually, at the legislature, summoned such municipalities and challenged them about these atrocities that are happening.
Yeah, so the reasons that are given that this is just a water scarce area and therefore the only source of water that certainly this area can rely on is water that is dug up. Are those genuine reasons?
Well, it's true. It's a fact that our province, it's a water scarce province. There it's true, but we don't help it by being corrupt. That is the main challenge.
Yeah.
Corruption.
Yeah. Fanon, what do you think is at the heart of the persistent water crisis that is hitting this local municipality?
Well, firstly, I must say at the center of this crisis is corruption. In a sense that the sitting government prioritizes outsourcing of services. They want to not address the issue as it is, rather give projects and tenders. The province at large is affected by this ongoing crisis wherein private companies are giving water tankering so that they benefit and ethically they even fundraise using that system of what we call water tankering. But secondly, I beg to differ that these interventions are going to assist the problem, because the water access on its own is a basic human right, and you can address basic human rights such as water provision and reduce it to a temporary measures. It can't be that you sit for 10 years with the crisis of water provision while it's a basic human right. It's clear that the government has no intention to address the issue as it is. But the other issue I want to raise with you is that the leadership comes and sits here to say, look, we are a water scarce province, we are a water scarce municipality. I want to contextualize it or bring it down to this particular municipality who are in Newzroom. The mayors, they come, they mention Motswedi, they mention Inokan. Those are water sources themselves. You can't say we have water streams, we have dams and so forth, and then say you only depend on the groundwater. Yet we just mentioned the water streams. What kind of logic is that? What kind of science is that? Because if you are to do even a basic feasibility study, we'll tell you that if you are to look for water anywhere else in a situation where you don't have water from the taps, you must go to the streams, you must go to the dams. Then you can't even arrive to the groundwater that you can't even see with your naked eyes. The water that you can see with your naked eye, that naked eyes that you receive from nature itself through rain and also different water channels. At this very same dams.
Well, the minister will tell you that's why he's doing the Nukana rural water supply project, which I believe, as we speak, is progressing very well with some 15 kilometers of pipe that is now underground.
It's quite unfortunate that we don't have confidence in the sitting government. They always come with projects. There are so many projects that are concerned with bulk infrastructure services and other services, the roads and so forth and so on. However, you never get a proper determination to say this project is going to start at this particular point in time and get finished at this particular point in time. We see roads, the very same stream. I can put you to task now to say, let's come and sit here in the very same platform in the next 12 months. Still we'll be sitting with an unfinished project without even clear understanding of how far are those consultants, how far are those engineers. You will always be told that we do not have sufficient skills in terms of engineering and so forth. However, how much are they investing as the provincial government, as local municipalities, in ensuring that we educate young people, we give our own people skills, because we can't always be outsourcing services. Where are they outsourcing those services? Don't we have human talents in the province? We do have human talents. However, we are faced with a brain drain because they are not investing in the human capital, in the human resource that we can have and utilize when it comes to issues of engineering.
If the minister was to come to you today and say, give me what 5 or 10 skilled young people who can come and resolve this crisis, would you be able to give those?
Of course, those skills, they need to be funded, and we don't even have full education in the full sense of it, but also how many municipalities are investing, for instance, in such technical skills. How many provincial government, how many young people were taken by provincial government itself, using taxpayers' money and equally using the grants that we're getting. In most cases, we even see grants being returned, yet you are told that we have a brain drain when it comes to engineering, water engineering and so forth. So we can't have such so long as the provincial government doesn't show interest, doesn't invest in those particular skills. We have identified the crisis, and they are saying, for instance, it's been 10 years now. In the 10 years, we can have a person graduating up to a PhD when it comes to water engineering. But how many have they educated? They are not doing that. You know why? Because they are clueless themselves. They are incompetent. They are not aware of the situations. They are just excited by the events of holding political offices and administrative offices, but without having the interest of the people at large, at heart.
Dr. Winston, there's a task team now that is comprising of local, provincial, and national experts who are coming in to assist in this water crisis. What do you see as the role that is being played by that task team?
Well, it's good. They do go very well in appointing task teams, but the problem is the very task teams that are being appointed are jobs for pals, you see. It's not experts that would say that these I can write home about. It's members of the party who are being provided with jobs so that life must go on. But at the end of the day, it's back to square one.
Yeah. Why would you say that? I mean, tell me instances where
it's been like that for years. That's what we've been experiencing. And people keep on crying because there are no services delivered to people.
Yeah.
Yes. And if you also look at this issue of trucks, yes, it's not anybody who gets an opportunity to deliver water with those trucks. No.
This issue of water tankers, right? It's a big issue, not only in the Northwest, it's an issue in Newzroom, it's an issue in KwaZulu-Natal. Yet I've asked the question all the time, who owns these tankers? Do you know the people who own these tankers? And why are you so quick to link them up to particular politicians who are benefiting from those contracts?
Of course, some of the guys that drive these trucks we know, some of the owners we know, and they will come from different areas, you see. That's how they do it.
By different areas, what do you mean?
I mean, it will be Northwest, but to find someone coming from Rustenburg, deploying a truck here in Ramotsiri, supplying water.
Yeah.
I mean, we are residents of Northwest.
Yeah.
We know these people.
But the mayor will tell you that these went through the proper procurement processes of the local municipality, and he'll tell you it has nothing to do with the adjudication on who gets the tender.
Well, processes are being manipulated. Processes will be there, but they manipulate them.
Manipulate them how?
Like I've said, that, you know, by giving members of their families something to put on the table.
Yeah.
You know that everybody wants a job now.
Yeah.
It's very tough. And now they look at their own.
But yourselves as councillors, why are you not raising objections, or as members of
Well,
legislatures?
we've been raising that thing for years. You know that the DA even went to court about this thing, and we're still waiting for documents, even today.
Yeah.
Yes.
EFF known for exposing a whole lot of issues when it comes to tenders. I mean, why are you not exposing these issues of tenders?
No, we do from time to time. Look, one of the reasons we disagree with the tendering system, not that we are not saying whenever there's a crisis, people must not get water. However, the process, if you have to check the tendering system, it's meant, in its nature, it's meant to be on agent basis, to say we have a crisis, in the immediate, how do we then best intervene? They will normally bring tankers. But in the province, it's a different situation, because the then intervention or the agent intervention now becomes a situation of 1 year, situation of 2 years, 3 years, even up to 10 years. Then we are saying that one is a manipulation of the process, because agent interventions in nature, they will then take a shortcut to the normal tedious process of procuring that particular thing. Hence, the quality will then say, no, there is corruption in that. Normally, they manipulate processes. Why? Because it's an agent intervention. It wouldn't normally follow the traditional way of procurement that will take normally long, because people in the immediate, they will need water to do laundry, for sanitation, for consumption, cooking, and other things, and even business and other aspects of life or day-to-day activities. So you will then see how they come about taking this short interventions. So hence, as the EFF, we are then saying this system is not working, but in general, tendering system has never worked in any aspect of governments in the province, in municipalities, in all spheres of government. It has never worked. So we are saying we do not agree with that. But we've been exposing, not so long ago in Rustenburg local municipality, we have seen mothers going to the municipal offices to say, but municipal offices do have water. We are going to bring our laundry and do it at municipal offices. So we have written media statements regarding that. We have protested in that particular regard. We have also consulted with the communities. We have raised those issues during sittings and councils. But you know, we're dealing with mafias. All the time they will apply the martial and draconian style of approach during council. They will then bring bouncers. They will kick us out. Not so long ago, we protested ourselves during the SOPA to say to the Premier, who then stood up, who took a podium, the Premier Bushmark, who then lied to the nation and said, we have water, where it comes from. In Freiburg, they have flushing water, they have running water from the taps. We went to expose him to an extent that even police had to intervene, private security came in to remove us, because we utilize all platforms, not only social media platforms, but every platform we get to illustrate, to demonstrate our grievances and ventilate grievances on behalf of our constituencies and South Africans and residents of the province in general. We do so without hesitation, without even fear or any favor to anyone.
Right. For instance, speaking of the Premier, recently announcing a strategy, which he calls a strategy to intensify efforts to expedite service delivery. I think it's called Tunsale Rule. And they are periodic sessions that he holds with members of the community to get feedback, to report on what has been done. And there are a number of interventions, it seems, that are being done by the economic cluster, by the social services cluster, and so on and so forth, around environment, around tourism, including the digging of boreholes, of course, and including some gardens that are being planted, some dustbins that are being given for people to throw trash in, and so on and so forth. Is that beginning to gain traction and seeing people leave?
Well, it's not surprising. We must look at the timing. We're moving towards election now. It's an electioneering strategy. You realize that we've been here since 1994, and towards every election, you see the ANC distributing T-shirts, trying to wake up, but everything. But immediately after the elections, they lie down, and start chowing the money.
And what do you suggest is the immediate remedial election? Because they'll tell you, well, you can call it electioneering. Ultimately, people are getting services.
Well, if people were getting services, people would not be complaining. You are here because people are complaining out there that we want services.
Services, we spoke to you recently about the call center. What is the story with the call center?
Yes, that's the situation with the sitting government. There's no value for money. You don't see where the projects are starting, where they are ending. From time to time, there's a project, a lot of money. They will come and give you figures in terms of the grant they've received, in terms of how much is being channeled to particular projects. But if you are to track and monitor in terms of whether they have systems of monitoring whether those service providers are then delivering those services, you'll never get anything. You go there, a shack is being built for almost, it's alleged that it's 38 million rand, but you look at the shack, it's not even worth 10,000 rand. Equipment that is being bought is worth thousands and thousands of rands. However, there's no functionality, it's dysfunctional, substantial. You have to call any line of Dr. Roots, local district municipality, current. You're not going to get your call will never get through because there are no such systems. However, a lot of money is being spent. Why? There's a lot of nepotism happening in that municipality. Corruption is rampant. There's no, the municipality itself is substantially paralyzed. So that's the crisis we're faced with in the province. We are raising it from time to time. However, we don't see a will from actually state authorities, willing, or investigating agencies willing to come up with, thorough results. So we from time to time initiate fully blown investigation. However, we never get to the ultimate result because they are linked. There's a relation, a staunch alliance between municipal officials and the political leaders, your councillors, your mayors, and this corruption, we have seen it happening from a level of ministers, MECs, premiers, to mayors and speakers. So they have a staunch alliance where they even cover each other's back. Every municipality can go in this particular province. You'll find that EICFO or municipal manager, they're sitting with criminal allegations lying ahead of them, with clouds of crime and prosecution. Because every municipality they come from, you find that actually they committed some sort of financial fraud. So, but what happens is that you'll then have treasury that then recommends or that then takes the very same people who alleged that they've been spending money irregularly and so forth. They will then be moved. They just have sort of a draft. They move them from one municipality to the next. So we are not progressing. All these CFOs and MMs, they've worked either in 2 or 3 municipalities around the province, and all of them, they leave those municipalities because of their fraud allegations. There's allegations of corruption, nepotism and stuff like that. However, they still remain within the system, and the provincial government is there, provincial treasury is there, is watching over these things. COCTA itself is there, MEC for COCTA is there. Those municipalities are actually under the same department, but we don't see a progressive intervention. It's because we're dealing with people who are extremely reactionary. They will only come with programs like Twin Salary Road, because we are heading towards elections. They will come and act as premiers and change each other and act for a very long time. The next thing they have left. Why? Because it's time for elections. They now start to engage in an unethical fundraising just for political reasons and to gain some financial muscle by giving projects to those who are close friends of theirs and to those who have some sort of proximity and relations with them, at the expense of the people who are suffering on the ground. We see young people. It's not only the issue of the 38 million check house in Dr. Ruth. You go to Bethel here in Mafikeng, I think it's 25 or 22. In the same municipality, we have seen children learning, the process of teaching and learning taking place in a shack house. About grade 1, 2, 3 children studying under such conditions. When it's raining, it's difficult. There are no windows, there's no sanitation, there are no bathrooms for those children. We see them under those conditions. If you are to check, you find that a lot of money is being pumped. There's grant coming from education. I think education is one of the departments that must be returning.
Speaking of, I wanted to talk about that was coming here. 8 out of 24 is the last number I checked. Maybe it's more, maybe it's less. Of the municipalities being placed under administration, but also 500 million rands in a various number of municipalities in terms of grants being taken back to Treasury.
Yes, it is true. And also if you look at the Auditor General's report, it's bad because none of the municipalities in the province have qualified.
What is at the heart of it? Why is money being taken back when there is so much need that
Because
needs,
money
that
is
needs
not
to
being
address?
used. Money is not being spent accordingly. As a result, when time comes, that money will be returned.
Is that based on poor planning?
Of course, I mean, like, you also ask yourself whether are the people who are in those departments fit for purpose. That's another challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Fana, 500 million being taken back to Treasury. We're talking about grants just now.
Yeah, you know, this is very embarrassing. This exposes the type of, you know, administrators and political leadership who are faced with in this province. One, how to return such amounts of money, yet people that do not have access to basic services like we're just engaging now. But secondly, to get the grant, you don't just wake up and National Treasury says to you, we're giving you this 1 billion or whatsoever amount. You must also have a plan to say this is the amount we think we need as a province, and these are the programs we intend to run or implement insofar as service delivery is concerned. And once Treasury is convinced, they will then send you, you know, that amount of money or grants based on the plan you have. Hence, you know, the grant will differ from one municipality to the next. So this, it means in this particular instance, people sat down, you know, they drafted the plan, but they can't implement, because to implement the plan, to put it on paper and implement in a more practical sense, you need to come with a proper praxis. Your theory must then complement your work on the ground. So there's no work on the ground.
Yeah.
They sit down theoretical so that they source that money with an interest or with the belief that at some point they will have a way of believing it without, or of benefiting from it without channeling it to the proper
Big thing raised by the
programs.
Auditor General of tracking the performance of contracts. All right, we'll get to the Premier and the provincial government to respond to some of these issues. Appreciate your time. That is Fanon Moyema, Northwest EFF spokesperson, and Winston Rabutapi, Northwest Democratic Alliance member. Right, the Premier, his executive, coming next to talk to us about some of these issues.